The AD0-E127 exam is designed for developers who specialize in Adobe Experience Manager (AEM) backend development. It tests your knowledge and skills in areas such as architecture and deployment, forms development, security, integration, troubleshooting, and maintenance. Share some Adobe AD0-E127 exam dumps questions here. 1. Which statement can be used by an AEM Forms developer to create and test the call to the database that executes a stored procedure in AEM Forms JDBC connection? A. Callable Statement Info Editor. B. Procedure Statement Info Editor. C. Returnable Statement Info Editor. 2. Which email endpoint setting is used to enable SSL, Secure Sockets Layer, in AEM Forms? A. COVALENTPOP3. B. Cron Expression. C. Inbox Protocol. 3. Which type of form rules will an AEM Forms developer need to use to invoke services that are configured in the Services tab of a form data model? A. Adaptive. B. Predictive. C. Selective. 4. An AEM Forms developer wants to create an interactive communication. What is a required action the AEM Forms developer needs to perform before it can be created? A. Setting up tags. B. Configure watched folder. C. Setting up a form data model. 5. An AEM Forms developer must build accessible adaptive forms in Forms development. The developer needs to use an accessibility tool during the building process that will fix any compliance-related issues in web content. Which accessibility tool will meet this requirement? A. Accessible Name and Description Inspector. B. Apache Archiva. C. Maven Integrated Kit. 6. An AEM Forms developer is creating adaptive form fragments during the process of creating an AEM form. Which best practice should the developer follow when completing this task? A. Realize that an adaptive form fragment which is inserted by reference can be edited from within an adaptive form. B. Understand that a fragment model root appears only in XSD-based adaptive forms. C. In an XSD-based adaptive form, save the panel as a fragment that includes another XSD fragment, so the resulting fragment will automatically be bound to the child XSD fragment. 7. An AEM Forms developer is working on AEM Forms workflow and needs to add a step which will identify whether an assigned task step crosses the due date. Which task step should be used? A. Timeout handler. B. Due date. C. Days. 8. An AEM Forms developer is creating a workflow model for review and approval and needs to get multiple workflow stages to report the progress of workflow. What should be used to meet this requirement? A. Adaptive Form Properties. B. Configuration Manager. C. Workflow Model Properties. 9. An AEM Forms developer wants to integrate AEM Forms with Adobe Sign to enable e-signature workflows for adaptive forms. What is a required prerequisite the AEM Forms developer needs to have before configuring the integration? A. Client ID and client secret of Adobe Sign API application. B. An AEM Forms server with disabled SSL. C. Client ID and API key of Adobe Sign API application. 10. What is a valid value when choosing the entity to which a data model object read service argument can be bound? A. Path parameter, B. HTTP header, C. Request attribute.